Steafel, I am. Stiefel is Austrian for Wellington boot. And I did decide originally that I'd change my name to Sheila Wellington-boot with an E. But I decided that if I did, I'd get stuck with comedy. So I didn't. This is kind of like Desert Island Discs without the desert, the island, or the discs. Or Sulawesi. But it's all about me, which is lovely. And you're going to have to listen, which is lovelier. I thought I might as well begin at the beginning. I was an absolutely ghastly little girl. You know the sort of little girls who are going to grow into actresses. And I had all the signs. I was showy-offy and, the slightest opportunity I'd take people's walks off. I'd walk behind them. My mother encouraged me. So, well, she did the same now I think about it. Anyway, there you are. I was taken to old dancing class at the age of 3. I've actually got certificates at home saying second prize. Try to point a little harder. I didn't realise they were actually sending me up because they used to go, Sheila, use your face. Use your face. Now, I've been accused of mugging. It's not. It's deep acting. The fact that I've got a face that moves around a lot and I can't help it is, just life. Anyway, I can remember doing at school, there was a concert and I decided I'd do an opera singer, and I did. Now, in those days, there was an artiste called Madame Tetrazzini, and I did Madame Tetrascreamy. I thought I was ever so good. I got my first laughs ever. I thought, that's for me. I got to university. Don't ask me how. I really have absolutely no idea. But I did a BA Fine Arts. I started and found the Drama Society. And that was much, much more fun. I was nagging my parents. I used to say, I want to go to London and the Royal Academy and be a star. That's what I used to say, in one sentence, always. And I was actually being pursued by a rather virile football player. I was sitting at some ringside rather, and he said to me, he was trying to get his hand down my blouse. And I was saying, I'm really unhappy, I want to go to England and be a star, rather. And he said, well, relax, don't worry about it. And his hand was getting clear. And I said, no, I really don't. What do you think? And he was getting absolutely nowhere. And eventually he said, look, well, why don't you go? So I went home and said, I want to go. I had a nosebleed. My mother said to my father, why are you stopping her? My father said, well, me? I don't care if she goes. My mother said, I'll be pleased if she goes. So I was allowed to, but they made a condition. They said I had to earn my own fare. So I found a job in the local paper, and it was to be a receptionist for a dental practice. He just started up, and he couldn't afford a real nurse. And so he had a good suite of rooms, and he dressed me up in this I loved it, nurse's uniform. And he had very few patients. He had an appointment book, and more interesting, he had dental plaster and a lot of nice little gleamy instruments. And when he wasn't around, you could actually make this plaster up, and you could chisel it into faces and things. It was great. So I used to do that a lot, and I used to have worry when the odd person did come in and he opened his book up. I'd open his appointment book, it was empty. And so I used to fill in names so it looked better. And then, of course, I forgot to put down which were the invented names and which were the real people. And this poor soul used to sit around for hours waiting for people who just didn't turn up. Anyway, eventually I earned my fare, came over here, went to RADA, auditioned, failed. And I looked around, and Webber Douglas School was auditioning at the time, so I rushed off. Spent, 2 years there, got some good parts. Final term when they ask all the agents to come and see how you know, and give you jobs and that, I got chicken pox. I did, and I remember lying in bed in a hospital with kids in the ward where chicken pox happens. And I can remember a couple of young students, young doctors coming round to look at my chest. And I couldn't understand why they didn't look at the kids' chest. We were all the same spotty people. Then I got lucky, actually. I got to understudy at the Old Vic. They did a production of The Tempest, Purcell's The Tempest, music and things in amongst the acting. And I was understudying 3 people, Ariel and 2 characters that were kind of written in by Purcell or Daz or whoever. And so when I rehearsed as an understudy, I had to talk to myself an awful lot, which didn't bother me a bit. Anyway, I knitted a lot of sweaters, which is what understudies did in those days, before computers came along. So I made a lot of sweaters for people. And I loved the music, I must say. The music was wonderful. But watching the production, there was a tenor. Oh, he was one of the gods. And he, indeed, the tenor came down on a cloud that swung quite a lot. And he'd come down and he'd get off his cloud, and he was wonderful. He was short and squat and very tenorish with red hair. Well, they'd given him a very red wig, rather like the jack of whatever it is on cards, you know, with curls going up the sides. And he had a pale blue, stiff, sort of tutu-ish miniskirt and a tunic, white tights, gold sandals that wound up his legs. And he'd come down and sing this wonderful aria. And the thing was that he kept time with his big toe. Now, there was nothing you could watch but that toe. He sang like a dream, and that toe was riveting. The rest was a total waste of time. The other thing was that Ariel was played by a rather slim, pretty actress, but the one who sang the Ariel songs was a bigger girl. And so what would happen is Ariel would say her lines and she'd slip behind a rock, polystyrene rock, and out would come the big one, dressed identically, sing the song, hop back, and then the play would continue. Now, out of that, actually, I got my next job, which was very thrillingly, I thought. It was a play with Donald Wolford, big Donald Wolford. And he was playing the lead, and the play was written by Cecil Beaton. And he was going to design the costumes. Well, we got to rehearsals, handed out the script, and we read through it, and Donald Wolford was a bit dismissive about it. He did a lot of, and Well, the next day when we started to rehearse, he walked in with some rewrites. He said, I've written what I think considered a better scene here. And this went on all the time. And Cecil Beaton would take the rewrites and go home and rewrite the rewrites, and then come back and say, I think this is my play and I would like it done. And I can remember Wolford standing up and reading it with such disdain, and then throwing it in the air, saying, I can't do this stuff. This is rubbish. This is not good. And we were all sent off for coffee or lunch or the day while they had meetings and things. But so it was very hairy, but in fact I knew that it was going to be okay because I had a costume designed specially for me by Cecil Beaton. And so I went to Berman's, I think it was, went upstairs, and there the great man was, and he was leaning against the wall of a cubicle, and he had his hat tipped to one side, and he had his jacket over his shoulders, and he had a long cigarette holder, and he was leaning back. And there on a chair was a pile of sketches of costumes, and there on the top said Sheila. That was a drawing, and it was me. And he said, clothes off. I stood there in my petticoat, and he said, clothes off, and looked to the heavens. And I stood there in my bra and pants, and he said, take that top bit off. So I did, and prayed he didn't want the other one on. And he looked around and he said, yellow, and a skivvy got down this roll of yellow voile and tore off bits, and he said, bit more. And he wrapped it around my middle, like a sari, round and round and round, and then he tied it off with a piece of string or cotton or tape or something. And he said, yes, somewhere on the middle, out came a cummerbund that was about 2 inches thick and sort of ridged like a pumpkin, and it was orange but glittery. And they put it around my middle, and I can't tell you what I looked like. Yes, fine, he said. Head, and they took a couple of feathers out of a jar and held it against the back of my head, and he said, fine. And he went away. And I was almost in tears. I thought, this is awful. So that was that job. I'm not a filmic person. I wish I was, but I'm not. There you go. But I did get a wonderful opportunity. My agent phoned me and said, go to Paris, see about a film. They're doing Topic of Cancer by Henry Miller. Now we all know come on, you all know Topic of Cancer. I know you do. When you were kids, you looked in and everybody had brown paper covers and looked up the dirty bits. I know you can't fool them. Anyway, I went to see the director, and he said to me, can you do a European accent? Anywhere will do. Oh, quite good at anywhere will do. So I did that. Yes, he said, that's fine. He said, can you dance? And I said, yes. And he said, can you show me? And I thought, yeah, okay. I stood up and I did a bit of a jiggle. And he said, no, he said, just hang on to, when you use the back of that chair. And I thought, oh, she's a bit drunk, is she? But she's in a bar. I see, in a bar, a bit drunk, dancing. So I went, jiggled about a bit, and he said, no, B-A-R-R-E, bar. She's in a bar. But I thought, yes, ballet. So I did a few pliés. Now, pliés are not good for me, but nonetheless, and the arms going, and he said, that's fine. He said, oh, and by the way, can you dance on point? Because she's got to dance on point. You see, this is a dream sequence, and she has to dance en point. I said, how long have I got? He said, well, we shoot it in 10 days. Fine, I said, I'll just brush up. And by the way, I said, would it be a good idea if I bought some shoes here? Because I really want to start very soon tomorrow morning. I don't want to waste time. So they took me off to this wonderful place, up a dark stairway. There was this woman with scraped back hair. She came out with this 3 pairs of shoes in boxes. She put down a little piece of plastic on the floor, put the shoe on my foot, and she said, Libby! Waving her hands in the air to go up. So I said, I can't. So they helped me, one on either elbow, lifted me up, and the aga khan put me down. Put me down. I thought, this is ridiculous. Anyway, we bought a lot of surgical spirit, and to cut a long story short, I did it. I learned a routine on point and went filming. Now, the bit I've left out on purpose is that I was asked by Joe in that interview whether I'd mind dancing topless. And I said, you mean without, and he said, yes, just in a tutu with the shoes, dream sequence, it'll all be very well done, I promise you. Well, you don't say no.